And welcome to the Michael Zehr Show. Today is Friday, November 5th, 2021. Uh, Today's guest is Kevin Mcfadden. He's from Arizona at work. His partner, Jerry, was supposed to be here with us today too, but he couldn't make it. So, Jerry, if you're watching, I hope you get to feeling better, bud. We're coming to you live right now from the Rising Eagle Studios at the Warrior Healing Center in Sierra Vista, Arizona, in the great county of Cochise and the great state of Arizona. I just love saying that in the mornings. Kevin, thank you for joining us, sir.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it. So Kevin was my very first interview on April 23rd, 2021. So it was 6 months ago. So I had to look it up and see because I didn't want this video to be a repeat of the first one. So that first one, we talked a little bit about what Arizona at work is, and we will get into that. But today, we're going to focus a little bit on Kevin Mcfadden as the veteran. So Kevin, let's get started. First off, where were you born, raised, where was home? Give us a little bit of idea about that, if you would, please.
Yeah, so I was born in Kassel, Germany. My dad was in the Army, and
Okay.
we were stationed Washington State, Massachusetts, Germany, and then last duty station, my dad got assigned to Fort Huachuca in 1986.
And you've
So-
been here ever since? Or?
Well, I let's say I went to high school, the old Buena, with the
Yeah.
the dealership
Right.
now.
Yeah, and Valero's.
And Valero,
Yeah.
yeah. And I graduated in '89 and was trying to stay out of trouble for about 4 years, and
So
then
Kevin's a Buena Colt.
yep,
How about that?
and then 1993. I think the Air Force was short one individual, and they said, "All right, let Mcfadden in."
Well, they're not that. They don't just take anybody. I tried to get in, and they wouldn't take me. I wasn't good enough. I guess my blood wasn't rich enough or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so after graduating from Buena, what did you do?
I worked at the original McDonald's with
Okay.
the one with the first drive-through
Right.
ever,
Right.
and worked there for a couple years, and then did a summer at Yellowstone Park working concessions.
Really?
Yep.
Now, just imagine if you were working at McDonald's today, you'd be getting $15 an hour.
Oh, I know. I was making $3.26.
Yeah. The times they have changed, haven't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, and then I bartended at Accolades nightclub and
Accolades.
ran the
Oh.
kitchen, helped build Moose Muldoons, and
Yeah?
ran the kitchen there for a little bit. And
I DJ'd at Accolades one time. I had to fill in for the DJ at that time. So heck, we might have been there at the same time.
Probably I started as a bar back and then finished as a bartender, and just when you're young like that and you're not going to
Yeah.
school, you kind of have to get out of Sierra Vista, so the Air Force was my way.
For those of you that don't know where Accolades and Moose Muldoon was, depending on how long you've been in the area, it's where, Cochise Iron Laser
Yeah,
is in that building, and PepTech, is that PepTech
Yep.
that's there?
yeah.
And that's what is PepTech? Do you know? It's like a alternative high school, I believe,
think
something like
so.
that. Yeah. So, but after working at like Moose Muldoon, so what year did you join the Air Force?
1993.
Did you go to the recruiters here in Sierra Vista?
I did.
Where were they located at that time? Do you remember?
Over by Safeway,
Okay.
where Jimmy John's, that
Right.
strip.
Yeah.
That's where they were at.
And then they moved to the mall for a
Yeah.
while, and now, do you know where their recruiters are at now?
Right next to Peter Piper Pizza.
Oh, okay. Man, they get around, don't they?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know. And all the branches are over there that you know of?
Yeah.
Cool. Huh.
Yeah.
So you joined the Air Force in what year?
1993.
Okay, and where did you go for, enlighten me, because you're one of the first people I get to talk to about an Air Force career here.
Yeah.
Most of the veterans that I've been interviewing have been Army Reserve or Army or Marine Corps. I don't know if you might be the first Air Force. I don't. I'll have to look back at it. Anyhow, where is it? Basic training? Is that what they call it for Air
Yeah,
Force Two?
yeah.
Okay.
It's well, they call it basic military training, but
Okay.
it was Lackland Air Force Base. That's where
Oh, in
everybody in the Air
Texas.
Force. Yeah, San Antonio.
Yeah.
And it
I
was
was at
back then.
Fort
It was
Sam for a
only
bit.
yeah, back
So,
then it was only 6 weeks. They didn't. And now I think it's 8 weeks, and the last two was kind of the warrior
uh-huh.
week where they do more the air base defense exercises, but they didn't do that back when I was in basic. So
Well,
6 weeks and done.
what was it like for you in basic training back then? What kind of training did you do? Like, did you qualify with? Did you have to fire an M16 or do a hand grenade kind of stuff like the Army basic training did, or was it kind of more geared towards?
Yeah, so we did one day at the range, qualifying on the M16, and then one day obstacle course.
Okay.
The rest of it was customs, courtesies, learning about the Air Force in general. You know how it was
Right.
structured. What proper protocols were. You know, but it was mostly your head was in the book, and when it wasn't in the book, you were marching to whatever location.
Yep. Happening to know general orders and the different ranks of the different military
Yeah,
and all that good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
PT in the morning.
Yep.
But no, it honestly it was not that bad back then. Now it's a little more challenging, but
So you mean in the Air Force when you go to basic training, you don't just fly airplanes then,
no,
huh?
no, and that's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking to kids. Oh, you were in the Air Force. Were you a
Right.
pilot? No.
Well, because you don't think of Air Force having troops on the ground or anything like that. When you think of Air Force, you think of, air and air support.
Yeah,
So after basic training at Lackland Air Force Base, where did you go for your advanced training?
Keesler, Mississippi.
In Mississippi? What
Yeah,
what part of Mississippi?
Biloxi, right there on the Gulf.
Is it kind of close to Fort Polk or
No,
no?
it's
Okay.
it's a ways away.
So Kessler Air Force Base?
Yeah, Keesler.
Keesler Air Force Base, and that was again in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Hmm.
And what did you do? What was your training? What was your MOS?
So it was at that time it was called Air Force Operations Resource Management System. So AFORMS, now it's Aviation Resource Managers, and it's basically it's aviation admin. So
Okay.
you keep track of the pilots' careers because they have to be on orders to fly.
Right.
You can't just go get in a jet. Um, they have to have their flight physicals every year. They have to go through the altitude chamber. I think it's
Really?
every 3 years. Yeah, because
Wow.
of over what is it? I think if they fly over 18,000 feet, they have to go through the altitude chamber those every few years to make sure that their bodies can handle those forces.
Wow.
Yeah, and then keeping track of their training. Because one of the requirements when I left the Air Force was, pilot who hasn't landed a plane in 45 days has to fly with an instructor.
Really?
Yeah.
No matter how much experience they have?
No matter how much, and then they're required so many different types of missions. So, like my first duty assignment was Little Rock Air Force Base with C-130s. So they're the different loads that they're dropping. They have to do that periodically. The sending the jumpers out, the side.
Right.
You don't. Loadmaster has to make sure that he's qualified to do that. If not, you have to have an instructor. And then we kept track of the flight hours because that's taxpayer money. So
Right.
you're allocated so many flight hours a year per squadron, and it's use or lose, just like any other government funding. So we had to keep track of all those hours, and sometimes towards the end of the fiscal year, you're either picking up to use those hours or slowing down because you're almost at your allotment.
Well, I forgot to mention for if we get anybody joining us, if you have any questions or comments, please
Mhm.
post them down here in the comments section. And that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at the screen here just in case we do get any comments so I can post them on the thing here to pass on to Kevin.
Mm.
So you were saying after you completed your training, your first duty station again was
Little Rock Air Force Base.
okay, and that's in Arkansas, I'm
Yep.
guessing.
Yep.
Okay, and how long were you there for?
I was there 7 years.
For 7 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting because usually people don't stay in one specific area for that long a time.
Yeah.
Did you like it there?
Yeah, I did. I liked it. I mean, I was 22, and Little Rock's a pretty big city.
Okay.
Nice downtown nightclubs, the minor league baseball team, minor
Really?
league
Who do they
hockey,
have?
the Arkansas Travelers.
Okay.
Yeah, no professional sports because you can't compete with the Arkansas Razorbacks in Arkansas.
No,
They're crazy about their
about their backs, huh?
yeah.
And after 7 years, what happened next?
So I got stationed at Tyndall Air Force Base down in Panama City, Florida, on the Gulf of
Okay.
Mexico. I was assigned. It was my favorite stretch in my career because I was assigned to the 83rd Fighter Weapons Squadron,
Okay.
and they run the air-to-air weapons system evaluation program. So testing. It was called follow-on testing evaluation, and what we would do was we would basically bringing in 36, 40 squadrons a year coming in. Everything from I scheduled F4 Phantoms, the British Tornadoes, German, Canadian, Singapore, Taiwan,
Wow.
F-16s, F-15s, eventually the F-22, and we would load them with air-to-air missiles. Instead of a warhead, in the missile would have a telemetry kit, so they could collect all the data as to what the
Right.
missile did. And we would go ahead and we'd send up usually about 14 aircraft, and 12 would have the missiles on them, and they would shoot at remote control drones, or we had the remote control F4 Phantoms. And so my job was, after a couple years there, I became the NCOIC of scheduling and
Okay.
aviation resource management. So my job was or my section was to bring in 2 to 4 squadrons and sit down, and we coordinated the airspace. We coordinated with the flight schedules of the squadrons, who was going to be in
Wow.
each aircraft, what kind of combat load it was going to have. We would coordinate with the drone squadron to do to make sure that it had the right countermeasures on the drone, and then basically the drone was programmed to fly a certain profile
Okay.
that was representative of enemy tactics and shoot the missile. We didn't want to knock out the drone every single time, so it was, if it was within so many feet, that's where the missile would have fused
Okay.
to the aircraft and been able to take it out. And so then that data was collected, and we had scientists and engineers in our squadron who would evaluate what would happen, and then all of that data collected would be used to change air-to-air tactics on an annual basis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we also scheduled air-to-air gunnery, so they load their guns, and they would shoot at a huge banner that was towed by a Learjet, and yeah, it was about a 3,000 foot cable,
Right.
but the
You mean like
civilian.
an advertising type banner thing,
It
or?
kind of looked like that. It
Uh-huh.
actually kind of looked like the old Japanese Zero, though. It had the like the rising, almost like the rising sun circle
Okay.
at the center of the target, and then
Hit the bullseye.
yeah, and we would bring a lot of these squadrons, especially when OEF or OIF kicked off. They would come in to us before they went down range, because if we wanted to make sure, like, every aircraft, it was tracked which rail had last been fired. So anytime that aircraft came in, they wanted to try a different rail to fire that missile off of,
Okay.
because we would get hung missiles where it fires, but it doesn't leave the rail. And so, the pilot's doing this, trying to maintain while the missile runs out of fuel.
Oh my
Yeah, and
goodness.
then
Wow.
guns would jam, so guns would have to be replaced. But the good thing about it was we would much rather that happen in a training environment
Definitely. Instead of
than
live
in combat. Yeah.
Right.
So we would evaluate the units from the maintenance perspective to the munitions guys to the pilots, how they did their tactics, and when they weren't shooting the missiles or the guns, they were doing what we call um, dissimilar missions. So F-16 against F-15, and sometimes it was basic fighter maneuvers. So it's just 1 versus 1, or it was air combat training where it could be 4 versus 8 or 2 versus 4. So we'd have these large packages where they were, they would do their training and then of course, evaluate afterwards, the effectiveness of the pilot and the aircraft.
What about ground targets?
So we had a sister squadron. The 86
Okay.
Fighter Weapons Squadron did the ground.
Okay.
And we would work with them about twice a year, so that fly in, take out your air-to-air targets, bombing run, and then fight your way out kind of thing. Now, what's interesting, and this I think happened 4 or 5 years ago, instead of the air-to-air weapon system evaluation program and the air-to-ground,
Okay.
they're now the weapon system evaluation program, and it's east and west. So both squadrons do both now. So they said, okay, we want every time these units come in, we want them tested for both air to air and air to ground. So it's different now than when because I was primarily air to air.
Because a lot of these fighter jets, they do have munitions on their I hate saying planes. That doesn't do it right justice.
Uh-huh.
But they do have both air to air and ground munitions, don't they?
Yeah, on the fighter side, everything but the F-15C model, the Eagle.
Uh-huh.
The F-15 is only air to air. Everything else is what we call dual role.
Okay.
So the F-22, F-35, F-16, the F-15E, and
you got a lot of knowledge about all these planes, huh?
Yeah. Well, and I scheduled a bunch of them, and then we maintained their flight checklists and their manuals, which is technical orders are not fun to maintain.
When you arrived in Florida, what was your rank at the time?
I was E5,
which is what in the Air Force?
Staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so you're there, E5,
mm-hmm.
and you were in Florida. And I was going to ask you one other thing that you mentioned that I thought was kind of interesting. You were talking about how you had to schedule the flights and stuff like that. So I'm guessing if there were like other airports in the area, you had to how would that work? You would get with them and file like a flight plan with them, or how does that work?
So we did file our flight plan. The flight plan went to base operations, and they coordinate with other airfields. But basically, the airspace that my aircraft were flying in was allocated to my squadron an hour at a time or 2 hours at a time. So I had the airspace, so I just had to deconflict my aircraft in that airspace.
So, for example, they didn't have to fly over to get to the range or wherever they were going to go do this training. They didn't have to fly over Miami or Tampa Bay or any major cities.
For them, it was. I mean, it basically a straight shot into the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
So most of the missions were over water, and then we did have a couple of areas over land, but it was kind of like the boonies, so not heavily populated.
Well, as you know, here at Fort Huachuca, from the desert, Davis Monthan Air Force Base, they do quite a few flights down in our area. They do touch and goes. They don't actually touch the ground. Somebody was telling me they just kind of come down, get close, and then go back off. When they're leaving, like Tucson airspace, because you got Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and you got Tucson International Airport or whatever that's called. Then you got Fort Huachuca has an airport. So do they? How does that all work? You hand it off. Do you know how any of that works?
Well, so everything's pre-coordinated as far as the airspace, and then the flight plan itself. When they're going from airspace to airspace, I always say, when I was teaching my airmen, a flight plan is the road that you take to get to the range. Okay. And so the flight plan determines not only what heading you're going to be, but the altitude that you're at. So that way, other aircraft are already deconflicted if you're following that flight plan. Because the commercial aircraft are going to be at a higher altitude.
Okay.
And not necessarily directly overhead. And then they do handoffs from airport to airport. So, when they're doing that touch and go out here at Fort Huachuca Tower has control of those aircraft.
Oh, okay.
And
I was going to ask you that, like how long range, what is the distance for like communications from like a tower to a fighter jet?
It's not that far. I don't know the exact, but what you also have, what we call ground control intercept.
Okay.
So those are our air battle managers. And so tower will basically hand off that communication to the ground control intercept. And then it's a ground control intercept talks to them.
Oh,
so
okay.
they're not in the tower. The tower focuses on the airport itself.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know. I just wanted to ask. I thought that was kind of a.
Yeah.
So
no, it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting.
So Kathy asks a pretty interesting question about how many different models of aircraft are used by the Air Force.
Oh my God!
I know you rattled off a bunch of them earlier.
Yeah, and those were all fighters. I mean, we've got the heavy aircraft, so we got the C-17, the C-130. We've got our AWACS, the E-9. And then, of course, we've got, the dignitary aircraft. I don't even know what those are, but C-5 is our other heavy aircraft.
Too many to count.
Yeah, we got our helicopters for our pararescue and the Ospreys.
I love driving by Tucson, Davis-Monthan.
The Boneyard?
Boneyard, yeah. There's just so many different aircrafts out there, and some of those things look like they're still flight worthy.
Yeah. They can patch them up. I mean, right now they're taking. They stopped using the F-4 Phantom to shoot at as a drone, and now it's the F-16A model. So they're pulling F-16s out of the boneyard, putting them back together, doing a functional check flight, just to make sure it operates the way it should. Then they'll take them to Edwards Air Force Base so they can modify them so that they're unmanned.
So now going back, because I got a little sidetracked, going back, so you're in Florida, and what was your next duty station from there? How long were you there for?
I was very lucky. I was in that squadron for 10 years, 2001 to 2011. Wow. Yeah, I made E7, which is Master Sergeant, and they said, "Oh, you've never been to Korea, so congratulations. You're going to go to Kunsan."
Okay.
Which is it's the air base that's further south.
Okay.
There's F-16 squadrons. It's the 8th Fighter Wing, Wolfpack, and I was in the 80th Fighter Squadron. I was the superintendent of operations.
Now, when you went to Korea, you had how many years in at that time?
I was a little over 17.
Getting close to retirement then, huh?
Yeah, and I was, like I said, 80th Fighter Squadron.
Okay.
The headhunters called the JUVATs. So, it's any JUVATs out there, what is good? Got to throw the snakes. And did that year there. But it was interesting because going from test and evaluation back into the operational world
Okay.
was kind of eye opening. In the test world, everybody's a subject matter expert, and then you get back into the real Air Force, and it's back to dorm inspections, and
Right.
taking young airmen and coaching them, mentoring them, molding them. So it was kind of eye opening. Plus, I had one fighter squadron in Korea when I was at the 83rd in Florida. I had every fighter squadron in the free world coming through. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Big difference.
yeah. So and then
And how long were you in Korea for?
out 10 months.
10 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
almost did the year, but that's my daughter started having seizures, so I was able
Yeah.
to EFMP, Exceptional Family Member Program, a couple months early to Davis Monthan.
Okay.
And
So you left Korea, then you come in. You're stationed at Davis Monthan.
yep.
Okay. And how is that where you retired from?
Oh yeah, yeah. I got here 2012. Bought the house in Sierra Vista. Was driving back and forth for a little over a year, and as soon as my I was 12 months out to the day, I dropped my retirement paperwork, and I was like, yeah, I'm home. I'm Sierra Vista. So, but I was supposed to get an A-10 squadron because I knew fighters so well, but the pararescue squadron they had a lot of youth in my
Right.
section, and they were having a lot of issues. So the senior master sergeant E8 at the head of my career field was like, "Hey, why don't you want to give it a try?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I can do jumpers." And little did I know that not only do they get jump pay, but they get flight pay, they get special duty
Jeez.
pay, they get scuba, and so now you're tracking a lot of different stuff that I never tracked before. But
Wow.
but I'll tell you what, those the pararescue, the PJs, and the combat rescue officers, they're oh my God, what an amazing mission. I mean, their motto that others may live, and
Wow.
their real world missions right here. There was a Friday afternoon where I was ready to go home, and there was a Chinese cargo ship off the coast of San Diego,
What?
and guy was I can't remember what medical problems he had, but they were major, and the Coast Guard couldn't get to him. So PJs get on a C-130, they get dropped in the ocean,
Wow.
climb up on into the ship, go ahead and get this guy stable,
Right.
and then the HH6 or yeah HH6C, the Air Force's version of the Black Hawk, comes in. They
Scoop him up and
scoop him up, get him out of there, and the
wow.
mountain rescues that they're doing out here, and not to mention what they do in combat. They between them and the Army rescue or the combat medics or whatever,
Right.
uh, man, under fire, what they do, the lives they save, it's impressive.
Well, I have to say, not only them and the army, but we have so many.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, like we have the National Guard that'll get called out
Hmm.
here in the state when there's some kind of an emergency, and I veterans just that have retired or that have
Hmm.
just served a short time have been known to just step up and pitch in when thing. That's
Yeah.
one thing I love about the military. It doesn't matter what branch you come from.
Hmm.
Everybody has an integral and very important part to play in making sure that the mission gets done and gets
Well,
successful mission. And
I don't think anybody's better at humanitarian missions than the United States military and veterans.
yes, yes, I couldn't agree more. Amen to that.
Mm.
Well, let's talk a little bit about after you retired. What did you do then? You came to Sierra Vista. You said you bought a house.
Hmm.
Um, and what did you get a job right away? Did you kind of want to enjoy your retirement a little bit? Maybe hit the golf course or something?
I took a couple months off. It was my terminal leave,
Okay.
and then went to school. I started going to school at Cochise, and what was that was different, because I was 40 something years old and going to
Right.
school with 18-year-olds. That was eye opening. But,
Yes.
you're not, it wasn't in Kansas anymore. But I started working as a VA work study while I was
Okay.
going to school. And what was cool about that, I was over at the Arizona Department of Veterans Services over at the cemetery with the
Yes.
benefits
Yeah.
counselors. And I got paid minimum wage, tax free, up to 25 hours a week. And I basically answered the phone there, kept the lobby, kept people happy in the lobby.
Right.
Um, and I did that for about a year. And what I learned there was that there were state positions in Sierra Vista that helped veterans. And I was
Okay.
like, wait a minute. So um, the first position I applied for was the veteran benefits counselor.
Okay.
And I missed out on that to the guy who was in my position, right? My predecessor.
Okay.
So I applied for his position and got it. So he ended up being a benefits counselor, and I ended up being a DVOP, Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Specialist.
And this was again at where was the office located?
It was over the Southern Veterans Cemetery.
Cemetery.
Yeah,
Okay.
right outside of it. And
Okay.
yeah, so it was interesting, and I love the VA work study program. It's myself, Jerry, and a couple others that work with the state. We were all work studies. It was a great networking opportunity, and it was nice. It honestly, what I love about the job is it's almost like being back in the military without all the extra crap. Back in my comfort zone.
Did you, when you were going to school, did you complete your degree then, or?
No, I still need to complete it, but I was fortunate because I qualify for the Forever GI Bill, so I
Okay.
don't have to worry about it expiring.
Did it just seems like got sidetracked in the best possible way that you could because you just love helping people so much,
Yeah,
especially veterans. So I think that if that's a good way to describe it, I'd say you got sidetracked in the best possible way of
mhm.
not being able to finish your degree. And what kind of degree were you going for?
Just business administration,
Okay.
but I think I'm going to finish that. And I may look more towards accounting.
Okay. So you went from working at the Southern Arizona VA hospital. Listen to me. I did a bunch of chapter service work yesterday, and I
Yeah.
was dealing with the VA hospital. That's why I got it on my brain. The cemetery is what I
hmm
meant to say. And from there, where did you go?
That was straight to Arizona at work,
Okay.
basically.
I'm
Uh,
glad that you brought that up because I did want to touch on the Arizona
mhm.
at work. So here's how I met Kevin, and I just loved it. I had heard about the Warrior Healing Center. I didn't know that much about it. And I came down here and I saw Kevin and I met Kevin, but I didn't remember his name. And I just, I can't. Oh, there it went. Okay. It just flickered. I guess I shouldn't don't touch the desk. So I'm here at the Warrior Healing Center. I met Kevin, but I didn't remember his name. So when they, Kathy asked me about doing a live stream, I said, sure. And Kevin was the first one to graciously volunteer to be my guinea pig. And when I saw Kevin, I was like, oh yeah, this guy does a lot of great things for veterans here at the Warrior Healing Center, and he also works out of the campus,
The
the
Cochise
the
College Downtown Center.
the nursing where the nursing center is,
Yeah.
and he works for Arizona at work, and I love the job that he has because he helps veterans find a job because when veterans get out of the military, they're not told what to do. I mean, you're gone from this camaraderie group and this. It's hard for me to even put into words what it's like serving, but then you're in a civilian sector now where what do I do now? Where do I don't know what to do. And then Arizona at Work is one of these organizations that you can go to as a veteran, whether you're retired, it doesn't matter. You could be a 2-year veteran, it doesn't matter. But they help veterans find jobs and the spouses too, dependents.
Yeah, now it depends with the spouses. Generally, we can work with a spouse if the veteran is 100% permanent and total.
Okay.
If they were killed in action, if they were a prisoner of war,
Okay.
and if the spouse, I believe, is a full-time caregiver.
Now, Arizona at Work doesn't work strictly with veterans, correct?
No,
they work with everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I'm restricted to working
with veterans. You and Jerry both?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I did watch the interview that you had with the young lady that was in here. It was you, Jerry.
Oh, Lou from Guam?
Yeah.
Oh, she is awesome.
I loved it. I didn't get to watch it live, but I did watch it at my leisure, and she was very fascinating. I really enjoyed that interview. It was done really well.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some of the services that you provide that maybe some of our veterans that are looking for a job right now and just maybe don't know where to turn. What are some of the things that you can do to help our veterans find employment?
Well, we assist them with targeting their resume. We have workshops that'll teach them how to do job searches online,
Okay.
How to update their own resume. Because if you're just submitting the same resume over and over, you're doing it wrong. You need to target it to that position. We do interview classes. We will also help them. We'll give them job leads.
Okay.
We get what we call Veterans Priority Service, which means that I have access to job listing 24 hours prior to the non-veteran staff. That's our Veteran Priority Service.
Okay.
So I'm out there. I'm job searching on behalf of the veterans, and I'm giving them leads. And then we have our local veteran employment representative, Coy Truhill, and he will advocate directly with the employer on their behalf.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if I'm a veteran, let's say I got out of the military and here at Fort Huachuca, and I wanted to move to Phoenix, would you be able to help me find a position in Phoenix, or do you just help veterans find jobs here locally in our county?
So what I would do is I have counterparts up in Phoenix that do the same thing.
Oh, okay.
And they know their labor market better than I do. So
okay.
We do a warm handoff to them so that they can help that veteran find the position. Because their local veteran employment representative, like if they're wanting to work at Luke Air Force Base, he knows the contractors that are there.
Gotcha. The reason I asked that question is because, and I don't know why you would want to leave our beautiful county, but not everybody likes it here for some weird reason.
Yeah.
So maybe they're from a big city like Phoenix or a smaller big city like Tucson, and maybe they want to go. So that's why I had asked that question.
Yeah. Well, and what we are, the Arizona at Work, we're what's called an American Job Center. Okay. And there's an American Job Center in every county in the United States of America.
Wow.
So if there's a veteran or a transitioning service member that, say, wants to move to Mississippi, there's somebody like me in their county that we can go ahead and connect them to.
So instead of like Arizona at Work, it would be like what, Tennessee at Work or something like that?
I think we're the only ones that is at work. I think like Florida is Florida Works.
Okay.
I'm not sure what California.
They all have their own different.
But they all have DevOps and LVERs, and so now the veteran staff may not be located in your county.
Okay.
Like, Jerry and I are responsible for Graham and Greenlee County.
Oh, okay.
As well as Cochise County. So,
very good.
We're located in Cochise County, so when there's a veteran in need, we're traveling. So we cover Douglas, we cover Wilcox, Benson. So we get a little bit of windshield time.
So if a veteran is watching and they want to get a hold of you or Jerry, would they come through the Warrior Healing Center, or would they go down to the nursing college, the city campus? How does that work?
Either way, we'll get notified.
Okay.
So if you're, this is the way I put it. If you're a veteran that has more needs than just employment, I recommend you come in, you do an intake at the Warrior Healing Center,
Yes.
and get that veteran assistance, and then the center will connect you with us for employment.
I second that.
Yeah. Now, if you're just looking for employment, you don't have any other barriers, you can go to our office over at 2600 East Wilcox.
Yeah.
You can give us a call at 520-458-9309. But I do recommend, and this is just me personally, even if you don't think you need the Warrior Healing Center, come check it out.
Yes.
When you come here, welcome home. That's what I tell every veteran that walks in this door. No judgments, the zone. We all got issues. We're all
Well, I think I first heard of the Warrior Healing Center on the radio, I think, or somebody on social media was talking about it, and I had to go see what it was like, and I got to tell you, it was the best thing that I ever did for me personally, because when I walked in, I had started this group, which you're a member of. It's a Facebook group. It's called Cochise County AZ Veterans, and it's linked with the Warrior Healing Center now. Thank you, Kathy, for doing that. And I came in and wanted to join their bagels and brew.
Yeah.
And I had to try to get the group to come down, which I got a few members to come down. And I walk in and I go into the coffee room, the rec room there, and I was like, oh my God, this feels like home. It's so homey, such a welcoming atmosphere. And it's like you could almost feel a virtual hug or something just from walking in. And that's why I said, for me, it was the best thing. And then it went from that to Kathy asking me to do a live stream. And now I'm working the front desk on Fridays to help out.
Yeah.
So, and that's all volunteer. I do that because it's what speaks to me. And what you're doing at Arizona at work, and what Jerry is doing, I don't know if that's a paid position or not, but you don't do it for the money. I know you don't.
No, it's paid, but yeah, we're not making. Yeah, we're not rolling in the dough.
No, you do it because you care about veterans. I mean, you can just tell if you sat down and you talk with Kevin personally, one-on-one. Just a very good guy, and I'm not just saying that to give you a big head. I know I tell this to all my veterans, but it's true. They have such great stories to share, and each one of their stories is personal and heartwarming. And I just can't thank you enough, Kevin, for coming in and sitting down and talking with us and telling us. It was very fascinating. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Let me read a couple quick announcements here for everybody. I didn't want to forget. Kathy's nice enough to print these off for me. Veterans Day is next Thursday, November 11th. What will you be doing on Veterans Day? I'm going to be, I'm planning on representing the DAV in the city parade.
Nice.
What are you going to be doing on Veterans Day?
Jerry and I are actually meeting up with our counterparts up in Tucson.
Oh.
So they were nice enough to invite us. So we said, all right, we'll do the big city one time. Cool.
Where are you going?
Yeah, I have no idea.
You don't know?
I'm waiting for the address.
Okay. Okay, so on Saturday, tomorrow, starting at 0700 to 1500 hours, there's the Sheriff's Charity Ride that's going to be taking place at Lawley Nissan. That's Cochise County Sheriff's Department. Puts this event on every year, if I'm not mistaken. Again, that's at Lawley Nissan tomorrow from 0700 to 1500 hours. Also tomorrow, starting at 1100 and going to 1400, we have the Faith in Blue. It's going to be taking place at Events 161, and it's going to be a potluck clothing and food drive to support the Warrior Healing Center, the Salvation Army, the St. Vincent de Paul, Clea McCaw and Sierra Vista Police Department Chief Adam Thrasher will offer brief remarks for that. Also, Wednesday, November 10th, my wife and I, that's our 42nd wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary, Gail. On Wednesday, November 10th, happy birthday, Marines. Our anniversary is on the Marines' birthday.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool, too. On Thursday, November 11th, we all know what that day is. It's Veterans Day. And from the Warrior Healing Center, thank you, veterans, for your service. Also on Thursday, November 11th, from 0900 to 1230 is the 26th Annual Veterans Day Parade going down Fry Boulevard. I'm so happy that this parade is back again, because last year with COVID, we weren't having it. So welcome back, Annual Veterans Day Parade. It's a very good, very touching parade. I love, if I don't want to be a part of it, I always like to go down and at least watch it. So also on November 11th, starting at 1100, going to 1400 hours, we have the Veteran Appreciation Celebration, which will be taking place at the Texas Roadhouse parking lot. And lastly, on Thursday, November 11th, starting at 1800 hours, going to 1900 hours, we have the Klug Ubuntu Hour. Is that right? Ubuntu?
Ubuntu.
I have no idea what that is, but it's taking place at Schlotsky's Deli, which is right there by Harbor Freight and Taco Bell, right there on the corner of Fry and Highway 92. So. And one other one that's not highlighted here, but I think it's important to bring up, on Thursday, November 11th, 1830 to 1930, is the Warrior Headspace and Timing PTSD Support Group, which will be taking place here at the Warrior Healing Center. So that's it. That's all I got. Don't forget, on Mondays, from 0900 to 1000 hours, the Marine Corps League breakfast meets down at the Landmark Cafe. So if all you Marines out there, you want to join your fellow Marines for some breakfast, that's the place to go, Landmark Cafe. All right, so on behalf of Kevin Mcfadden, Michael Zehr here, thank you all for joining us. Any last remarks, Kevin?
Oh, the police chief, Adam Thrasher?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we went to high school together. We graduated.
Oh, how cool.
We were on the wrestling team together, but no.
Wow. All right, well, come on down and see Arizona at Works down here at the Warrior Healing Center. Everybody have a great day and a great weekend and a happy Veterans Day. Bye.